listening to The Power of Being Positive, helping you discover strategies to unleash the uplifting, energizing, and motivating power of being positive and the awesome effects that it can have in your life. Getting ready to power you up in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to The Power of Being Positive. I'm your host, David Clark. In this episode, we are going to cover something that's really important to me personally, and something that I've kind of had to sort through and figure out. I want to say, I don't want to necessarily say battle through, but work through. And that's how to be an encouraging force to your kids. And especially when it comes to sports. As sports seasons kind of roll on and things like that, oftentimes we have, as parents, expectations of our kids to act almost like adults while they play sports. And on this episode, I interview Mike McCoy. Mike McCoy is he basically has a speed and agility training facility in Hoover, Alabama. He works with a lot of kids, and a lot of athletes, and he sees that parent and kid dynamic firsthand. And what really kind of inspired me to reach out to him to do this interview was based off of a video that he posted on his social platform a while back. And I will put a link to that in the show notes as well. But with that, let's get into the conversation that I had with Mike.
I do appreciate the wonderful intro, and I do appreciate you reaching out for me, and I thank the world that you asked me to be on your podcast. So the pleasure's all mine.
Mine as well, man. So to kind of run back on this a little bit, so I've followed Mike for a while. He's always had some kind of positive posts and things like that on his social platforms. But I guess last week he posted a really heartfelt video that talked about, and what I'll also do is I'll put the link to this in the actual show notes so that we'll have that. But he posted a very heartfelt video about some things that he had seen going on in his facility and other sports teams and things like that he's been around. And it's about the importance of being an encouraging force to your kids. So, man, if you could go ahead and recap that video a little bit and just kind of talk to us a little bit about, some of your background coming up, some of the things that you've seen. And we really want to make sure that we, from your opinion, because, you deal with this a lot. And I know I've got young kids and they both play sports, and I've got the tendency sometimes to be a little, aggressive, not keeping in mind that, they are kids as well, because it happens, I guess, a little bit to everybody. But go ahead and give us a little bit of background and talk a little bit more about that for us.
Basically, man, my partner and I, we get requests all the time about speaking. Bama brings me in every year to talk to the football team about life after sports, etc. But I normally, when I go on Facebook Live, is normally the spur of the moment. I try to be positive as much as I can. I try not to step on toes, but when you are being real, to speak of the truth, it has no friends. So I tend to ruffle a lot of feathers a lot of times, just dealing with coaches, parents, and in general, because I come from a place of love, and I speak from a place of where I'm a former athlete. I'm originally from a small town in Mississippi, grew up kind of rough. But the one thing I can say is my mom, she really didn't care too much about sports at all. All she cared about, she gave me whatever I did, even if we didn't have the most money in the world, but she never belittled me in any way, and so I guess I had much more than other people, far as I had that unconditional love. And I see the success that it brought for me. And I'm one of those kids too. My father raised me as like, you're going to respect me one way or another. So when coaches don't do not all coaches, but some coaches don't do a great job far as motivating kids. Some parents do a terrible job motivating kids. And I know that they're coming from a place of love. And a lot of times you have parents that live through their children and necessarily don't know the right words to speak or say at times. And you want what's best for your child. So you feel like you're motivating them, but whereas you're tearing them down. And times are different now. My brother was one of my biggest fans, but my biggest critics. But he never like, man, you played terrible. You did this wrong. He motivated me by saying, hey, man, you had 23 points this game, but if you would have done this, you would have had 34 points. Or if I had a good game in football where I had like 150 yards, like, well, you dropped the pass, you could have had 200. So I was eager to please, but never did I deal with, hey, man, you suck. You suck as a player. You don't push yourself. And I had a mom come in and tell me blatantly, her son is not going to make the team. I'm trying to prepare him. And I told this kid, I said, come hell or high water, bro, you're going to make this team. I'm going to invest, even if I got to come in on Saturday and Sunday outside of what you paid for, you're going to make this team. Because that's the worst feeling in the world, knowing that you got to go home to something where you had a great day at school and great workout, and then you walk home into that negative atmosphere. That's the last thing somebody wants to walk home to. I should have stayed at school, or I should have stayed at work. Nobody wants to deal with that. That causes depression. That's going to lead to suicide, and that puts a strain on parents and student athletes relationships. So, and I tell a lot of parents, I'm like, well, I had a parent come in and tell me, well, my son's slow. Well, you were slow. So why are you mad at your kid? Well, my kid is lazy. You're lazy. He's a product of his environment. So I don't think you can point the finger at someone when that's like calling the kettle black. Come on, man. They're mimicking everything that you do. So that was the reason for the post. That's the nice version of it. I could really get rare. I really get ticked off a lot of times because I've experienced that from a player coach standpoint. I didn't have the best coaches growing up. I didn't have the best. You just don't grow up in the best environment sometimes, but I didn't get it at home. So that was the basis behind that video. One of the moms pissed me off that morning. So that's why I made the video.
Yeah. I mean, and even, one of the things that, and it's been an evolution for me as well, dealing with, youth, kids. My very first coaching experience ever, I was put in charge of a team full of 8 and 9-year-old boys, and none of the dads or moms would step up to help me with practice. So that was trial by fire, big time, as far as learning how to be patient and motivating and all of that kind of stuff. Because and it even rolls into today with with some of the kids that I deal with. It's I have to remind some of the parents that I'm talking to is that, hey, look, they're 7, 8, 9-year-old boys. Just because they're out here on the football field doesn't mean they're going to turn into assassins overnight.
Right.
It's like one of those things. It's like, I tell them, it's like, we tell them in school not to hit, not to push, not to fight, not to talk mean, but then we put them out here on the football field and we expect them to go take somebody's head off, and you want to yell at them because they don't.
Right.
So it's like one of those things. So, so what are some of the main things? So dealing with kids. So what are some of the main techniques, tactics, thoughts that you kind of deal with when you're dealing with these guys to make sure that they keep their attitude and their effort high, even though they may be failing physically?
Well, believe it or not, we do things a little bit different here at the warehouse. We go through an interview process. When we interview every kid that comes to our gym. And the reason is because, you know, I'm a big man of character. You know, we've been blessed, and we put in the last 7 years, we put over 100 kids into college. And people are like, well, how are you doing it? It's the blueprint. You know, we check the kids' grades. The kids have to maintain a B average. If they get a C, we put them on probation, because you can go anywhere and get in shape, but you have to have a plan of action whenever you come here. And the plan can be to leave. Now, I do get those kids who come in that are phenomenal athletes and don't have the best grades. I'm like, dude, I'm 31. I'm still faster than you. I can jump higher than you. I'm stronger than you. Yes, you're good in high school, but you're going to come across a guy who are 10 times better than you. So what are you going to do to separate yourself? And we bring in NCAA guys every year to talk to them the importance of the grades, the character. And I run this place like a college program. So we run. It's hard nosed over here. It's hard. When you make it, when you leave here, you will be more than prepared to go to college. But the difference between us and every other sports facility is we harp on meditation, we harp on vision boards, and we harp on goal setting. And I know, you know, that's just like when I get rebutted for a kid. I tell them just like this, well, you ain't got to do it. It's only your career, you know. And when you say that to a superstar or an athlete, that's when that competitive drive comes out. Or
Nice.
If I have a kid who didn't have a awesome or a good game where he felt like, man, I should have had 30 points, I would ask him, well, what did you do good? Well, man, I had 10 assists and I had 3 rebounds, but you only had 11 points. So you had a complete game. You're just, you know, and most of these kids, they would rather be famous than rich. So I just give them a different way of looking at the positive side. So, well, I didn't hit any threes. Did you drive to the goal? No. Well, did you create any turnovers? Are you working on this? Are you working on that? All I do, my job and our job, Coach Ryan's job and Coach Jared, our job is to spark the brain. If we can spark the brain, you're going to do whatever I tell you to do. That's the vast difference. And like you said, the biggest thing you had is patience. And I have an abundant amount of patience with a lot of these kids.
Yeah, I think that's crucial. And I like what you said about helping them set some kind of goal early, because, you know, because I mean, even as adults, we roll through life and we don't have goals and we just kind of go with the flow. And then people get upset because they haven't achieved anything. You know, it's kind of, and that's one of the things that this year that I've been working with my kids on, is to try to help them, even if in a big scheme of things, like for an adult, the goal may not make sense. Even for them, even if it's a very generic goal that's not a SMART goal, which is, you know, that the acronym for that. Even if it's just some kind of goal that they can have or motivation in their head, that's beautiful, man. And then also, yeah, heavy dose of patience.
I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah. So as you're dealing with these kids, you're setting goals, you're helping them make sure that, you know, that they've got some kind of motivation and spark and things like that. How do you basically drill that down and maybe correct the parents in a way that, you know, help them understand the best way to kind of continue that, and help them understand that, you know, that sports is 99% a mind game and 1% physical. You know, how do you work with parents to help them make sure that they're carrying on as well as they can what you're trying to work with them on, you know, from the mental side,
Well,
And the
believe it or
positive
not,
side and the encouragement side. How do you work with the parents and explain that to the parents?
well, believe it or not, man, whenever the kids come in, I've had parents that try to coach. I'll check the parent in the middle of the workout. Hey, he with me right now. So back off. And believe it or not, you know, in the last 7 years, this will be 8 years, we've only had 3 parents. Really, we had 3 to about no 7. That's high. We'll round up. I had 7 kids never come back. You know, so he has one coach when he's with me. So I don't need sideline coaching. I understand you pay the bill, but you pay me. I'm the expert. So, and I teach them, those are teaching tools. So when I'm yelling at the kids or getting on to the kids, I give a reason why I do everything. And I tell the parents as well, you are distracting him. If your son is in the basketball game, he takes a jump shot, and the first thing he does, instead of hearing his coaches and he hears you from the stands, that's a problem. So I give the parents a different perspective. Be the parents. Be his biggest cheerleader. He knows he didn't have a good. He knows, or she knows she didn't have a good game. It doesn't need a brain surgeon to tell them, hey, you didn't play well today. So you're throwing, instead of saying, man, I could talk to my parents about anything, because sports is a small part of our lives. It's not everything. Everybody's not going to play in the NBA or the NFL or MLB, but you're going to be a parent forever. And if you call rebuttal right now, or you cause a conflict, if you are yelling more than you are praising your kid is not going to, you're not going to have a relationship with your kid. You're going to watch it dissolve. So the best thing you can do is be a parent at the end of the day. That's what you pay me for, and that's why he plays sports. He has a coach. He's learning life skills. So I give you a quick story. My best friend, been friends for 23 years. We talk every day on the phone. My nephew, well, his son is my godson. So basically, I'm like dad number 2. And it's to a point now where he sends me a workout of him every day. Like the kid, I make the kid, like we have a relationship. Like you don't have to tell your dad what you're doing, because my best friend, he's 6'5" and his wife is 5'9".
Oh, wow.
His son is 9, and his son is enormous. His son is 9 years old, but he wears a 10 and a half. So he's going to be he's going to be very tall. He's like, man, he's sorry. He ain't playing well. I said, well, Chris, you can't say that because your mom didn't say it to you. Your neighborhood, the neighborhood how we grew up was completely different. We had older guys that worked with us. We were outside. We didn't have Fortnite. We had PlayStation, but you know, this is a different group and a different set of kids. I said, you have to motivate him in order to work out. You can't tell, hey man, you eat those potato chips, you're gonna be fat. Hey son, you said you want to go play in the NBA. You playing Fortnite is not going to get you a scholarship. There's different ways of wording things. And once that changed, man, his son started sending me workouts every day. Uncle Mike, hey, I'm doing this. Uncle Mike, the last game, you know, every week, man, he putting up 16 points. Boom, he's putting up 17 points. Why? Because you're not coaching him on the sidelines. He's invested within himself. You know, everybody wants to be told what to do, and everybody has their own answers, you know, and everybody wants $1 million, but most people don't know how to get there. Give him a blueprint. Give him instructions. That's the first thing you do whenever you buy. If I'm about to build a swing set, or if I have to work on the car, I'll do what? Find the directions. Directions lead to success. And that's the vast majority. And that's the vast difference. And you want to keep peace. When you come home, your home is your peace. So like I told you, like far as meditating, like at the end of that workout, man, now remind you, I got the kids that are the roughest and the toughest. I got kids that are over at Hoover. Then I got kids that are on the east side of Birmingham. So it's like, how did you get those kids to buy in? Everybody wants to know that they're loved. And
Yeah, that's big.
love is an action word. You telling me you love me and showing me you love me are two different things. Those kids need, it's like, because I walk in, when I'm on the east side, I tell them, none of y'all in here whoop me. So you gonna do what I tell you to do. So, and it's like, then I had those kids doing book reports. Like I had a kid, side note, I had a kid that got caught vaping the other day. He's in 6th grade. And his dad was livid. And I asked the kid, and his dad was like, well, I'm going to run you into the ground. So the kid was almost scared to come here. We sat, we talked. I said, man, why are you doing this? He said, Coach, it's something deeper. You're a good kid. Why are you doing this? Come to find out, the kid just needs some attention. He's the only child. His parents are older. Mom works 24/7. Him and his dad don't have the best relationship because his dad didn't have a great relationship with his parents. So he's learning, So I teach parents and the kids a different way of looking at things. So
yeah, that's huge, man. I mean, and you covered you just hit a bunch of points, and I had a bunch of ideas as you were talking. It's kind of funny, my background is the tech world. I owned a digital marketing agency for like 11 years, and now I'm working for a startup and all this stuff. And the theme and theory, out in Silicon Valley is, move fast and break things, right? Well, dealing with your kids, that's completely the opposite. You got to move slow. And you got to be patient. So you don't break anything, because the last thing you want to do is break your kid. And then the second thing is, I had a business coach several years ago, and he was a military guy. And he basically said that, the number one thing that as a leader that you can do is make sure, and this is with a coach or anything else, is you want to make sure that your employee, your students, all that they know that you love and care of them, because if you do that, then they will run through walls for you. And I guess that's even one of the bigger things that you've even kind of talked about or covered throughout all this, is that at the end of the day, from setting goals to giving them proper motivation, I think the fuel and fire behind them taking credence in any of that stuff that you're doing on the front end is knowing that on the back end that you care about them on a personal level, and you love them and you want the best for them. So I really think that's, man, putting it all together like that, the way that you've just done that, man, is beautiful. And then I guess, from any coaches that you've worked with or had, what are some lessons that you've kind of learned from any of the coaches that you've kind of had along the way that are either good leadership, encouragement, motivation, positive, negative? I mean, what's kind of worked best for you?
Man, I've been fortunate enough because I met Jay Gruden, John Gruden. I actually had a private workout with those guys. Mike Shula doesn't give enough credit. Coach Saban, of course. One thing I can tell you about all of those guys, they read. And I used to, me and Coach Saban, man, I was a head case, man. A lot of that stuff I bought on myself. And, I read, my partner and he got me reading. And I read at least almost an hour a day. And we read a lot of psychology books, man. And what that does, it forces you to look at life completely different. It gives you a different perspective. I love reading The Art of War. What else we got? We read meditation books. Zig Ziglar.
Love Zig Ziglar.
Flash. Bro, we read about anything and everything. The David Goggins book that just came out, just different ways, the way to look at the world. And I'm very much involved in the community. And I'm a big avid reader of, I read books like Gandhi all the way down to Malcolm X, up to Martin Luther King, to people like, man, you read about Hitler. And I read those things because you have to understand, and you cannot be so quick to judge somebody if you've never lived the life that they live.
True.
And people like Tony Robbins, I was blessed enough to go to a seminar, a 5-day seminar with Tony Robbins. And he said something so powerful. He was like, here you got a guy he was talking about Mandela. And he made an avid point. He was like, here's a guy that got sent to prison for I don't know how many years, comes out and becomes a preacher. Becomes head of the country. He said, and he got, he was innocent. You do time, you will hate somebody, but you win people over with love.
Yep.
And if you take a look at what's going on now, my kids and we talk about everything. I don't know if you've been in the news lately, but Hoover Spain Park just had a girl saying the N-word, talking about the Jewish community, etc. And I said, man, at the end of the day, if you watch, my partner brought up something. He said, man, if you pay attention to that girl, man, she's screaming for attention. So instead of ridiculing her and talking to people like that, why don't you educate people? That's how you change people. You change anybody by education, and you change them by changing their environment. And Malcolm X says a quote that I live by. He said, don't be so quick to judge your brother because you have not always thought like you think. So I put myself, anytime I'm dealing with a kid or a parent in a certain situation, I put myself in the box like the mouse being experimented on instead of the scientists, because now I have a different viewpoint. Now I'm putting myself in the shoes. It's like, how can a man pull himself up by his bootstraps if he has no shoestrings? So I have to do something different. I have to say something different. And are we perfect all the time? No. Am I perfect by any means? Heavens no. But I try to always see both sides of every story before I make a decision on something, a stance on something. So
that's awesome, man. Ultimately, the more responsibility you take for the things that happen to you, around you, and to other people, the more sane you'll be. That's just kind of the way it works.
With that question.
Well, hey, man. I appreciate your time. I will give you one other book for you to look at. John Maxwell's got several, but one of the ones that I like.
Man, I got one. Let me see if it's the book you're talking about. I'm reading Levels of Leadership right now.
That one's good. But then there's also another one that's called The 15 Laws of Self-Improvement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's good. I listen to Audible, so I just turn it on Audible and drive. But anyway, man, with that, if you want, give us a quick how would if someone's in the Birmingham area and they want to reach out to you about you helping their kids, what's the best way to do that?
Now, side note, parents, I know this is a podcast. I do curse a lot, so just be ready to come in for an experience. But long as your kid he may not be the most athletic, but if he has heart and he has a powerful mind, you can bring him by here. But we are Warehouse Performance Institute. You can either Facebook me, it's Mike McCoy, or you can either email me, Mike McCoy, Mike, M-I-K-E, at WPItraining.com. You can look up my Instagram, it's Mike McCoy 80, or you can reach out to my business partner, Coach Ryan Romano. He's Ryan Romano, ROMANO on Facebook. And our telephone number is 205-492-3170. And it's 205-492-3170. And if you guys have any questions or any concerns, or if we can help out in any way, we've dealt with depression, suicide, drugs. You have questions about coaching, speed work. We have everything. This is a one-stop shop.
Public speaking for high school teams.
Yes.
If I was still in Birmingham, I'd hire you.
I appreciate it.
Well, hey, man. Well, like I said, dude, I appreciate taking the time to catch up with me on this. I think what you're doing is awesome, man, and keep up, dude. Keep it up. And I'll continue to root for you from the sideline. I won't get in your business.
I definitely appreciate it.
But with that, man, I'm gonna go ahead and say goodbye, and we'll all catch back up again soon.
Awesome, man. Sounds good, man. Keep up and keep fighting the good fight, man.
All right, man. Thanks. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And I want to give a shout out to everyone who has been listening along. And I really want to thank you for the reviews and the ratings and things like that you've given the show, and the kind words of encouragement that you've given me along the way. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that you are finding information in these episodes that helps you engage people in a more positive way, helps them live a more positive life. And I hope that, again, seeing me do this will inspire you to go out and try something outside your comfort zone. And with that, thanks again, and you'll be hearing again from me soon. Bye.
You've been listening to the Power of Being Positive podcast. To get more tips sent to your inbox, visit powerofbeingpositive.com.